Grace and peace to you, beloved. Amy Wilson Feltz here, coming to you from the parsonage of St. Paul's United Methodist Church in El Paso, Texas. I want to thank you for joining me for coffee on this Wednesday morning. This is a high point in my week to be able to connect with you and to talk about life and faith over a cup of coffee. So thank you again for joining me. In our community, on the first Sunday of the month, we participate in the Sacrament of Holy Communion. Many of you have been participating with me over the past several months as we have made these prepackaged, consecrated elements available on the Thursday before the first Sunday in a drive-through manner in the church parking lot. So we made those elements available on Thursday of last week in preparation for the sacrament. One of the things that I miss is participating with you in the sanctuary in terms of our observance of Holy Communion and our worship in general. But one of the things that has come out of our current situation is the opportunity to celebrate the sacrament around the table with my family on Sunday afternoons. And it was actually Natalie, our 6-year-old, who reminded me on Sunday that we had not yet observed the sacrament together. And so she distributed these elements to each of us. We prayed together, and then we took the wafer and we ate those, and then we drank the juice. And even Olivia can participate now. She's 1 year old, but she can eat the wafer and she can drink the juice. And I was able to snap a picture that I wanted to share with you. This picture just speaks to me so much because, as you can see, she is gulping down the grape juice. She is slurping every last bit of it. She is eagerly tasting the grace of God. And just a word of clarification, she only had that cup long enough to drink the juice and then take the picture, and then she gave it back to me, so no worries there. In our tradition, we believe that everyone is welcome at the table. Children are welcome to participate in the sacrament. Everyone is welcome to come just as we are. And I wondered, as I looked at Olivia, if this is the way that God sees us when we come to the table. I mean, here she is. She's a total mess. She has cheese in her hair. She has snot crusted around her nose. She has Oreos all over her mouth and her face. And she cannot get enough of the grace of God. It's such a beautiful thing. A sacrament, in our understanding, in our tradition, is a means of grace, a way that we experience God's grace that is holy and set apart and mysterious. We believe that God shows up in unique and holy ways in our sacraments of baptism and Holy Communion. And the sacraments are messy. Water flows at baptism. It drips. It gets everywhere. In the sacrament of Holy Communion, you have grape juice that sloshes and spills and drips. You have the bread or the wafers or the crackers that break and crumble. And the reason that we experience the sacraments in such a messy way is because life is messy, and we want to be reminded that God shows up. God shows up in that mess. God is present with us every day, in every moment. And God is present with us in real and tangible and holy and mysterious ways in the sacrament. And in our tradition, we practice that open table, which means that everybody can come, anybody can come, because we are all in need of God's grace. None of us any more or any less than the other. And one of the reasons that we believe this is because of what we read in Matthew chapter 26. So I want to read some of that chapter to you this morning. This is Matthew chapter 26, beginning in verse 26. While they were eating, these are the disciples celebrating the Passover meal in what we call the upper room. While they were eating, Jesus took a loaf of bread, and after blessing it, he broke it, gave it to his disciples, and said, "Take, eat, this is my body." Then he took a cup, and after giving thanks, he gave it to them, saying, "Drink from it, all of you, for this is my blood of the covenant, which is poured out for many for the forgiveness of sins." We call these words the words of institution because we believe that Jesus instituted the sacrament of Holy Communion in this experience. And I want to remind you who was at the table that night. It was all of the disciples. The one who would betray him, the one who would deny him, they were all at the table, and they were all partaking with Jesus of this holy meal. So that's why we believe that everyone is welcome at the table. I want to tell you a quick story about an experience of Holy Communion a few years ago now. Jason and I were traveling, and we were able to participate in a worship service in a different town. So this was not our town. It was not our regular church, and I was a pastor at that time, but obviously I wasn't serving in this particular place. We were sitting in the pews, and I was eagerly awaiting the sacrament, and the person who was presiding over the table said just before the invitation, if you are in an unsettled place right now, if you're not feeling well in your soul, then perhaps it's time to sit this one out and just reflect on what you need from God as everyone else comes to the table. And again, this was not a church where I was serving. It's not a church where I had ever attended before, but I literally felt myself rising in my seat. And Jason put his hand on my thigh to keep me seated because I had this instinct and this urge as a pastor in the United Methodist tradition, and we were in a United Methodist sanctuary at the time, to stand up and say, that's not right. That's not right. We're all welcome at the table, especially if we're feeling unsettled in our souls, especially if our souls are disquieted, if we are feeling unrest, if we are feeling despair, the table is certainly open to us, just as it is when we're feeling that all is well. The table is a place where we can begin to feel that all is well when we don't feel that way in the beginning. We're welcome to come to the table with Oreo all over our face, and God welcomes us there. So that's what I want you to hear this morning, that you are welcome at the table of Christ. And we will be celebrating the sacrament of Holy Communion on Christmas Eve during our live service at 5 p.m. on Christmas Eve, the 24th, of course, of December. And we will be making those elements just like this, available in a drive-through manner on Tuesday, the 22nd, in the church parking lot at 7000 Edgemere Boulevard at 10 o'clock and at 5 o'clock, from 10 to 11 and 5 to 6 on the 22nd of December. And you are welcome to come and receive these elements, and also a candle for Christmas Eve. We'll be distributing those as well, so that you may participate in a service of celebration as we remember and celebrate the birth of Jesus on Christmas Eve together. All are welcome. All are welcome. All are welcome. And I hope that you will take the opportunity to participate in our holy meal and our worship together on Christmas Eve. If you have any questions, please send me an email and I will be happy to connect with you. I hope you have a great rest of the week, beloved, and I look forward to being with you again here next week for coffee with Pastor Amy. Grace and peace.